Welcome, everybody. Thank you all so much for joining us today for our webinar. This is a retail and hospitality special, which we're really excited about. We want to do more of these vertical focus webinars. We think, there are some really key use cases that can be applied, and particularly for retail and hospitality, now is the time really to be getting ahead of Christmas, right? So we thought it was very timely. So thank you all for joining. We will be sending out a recording of today's webinar. Feel free to sort of share that with your teams as well if you want to. And there will also be we will also be sending out a kind of like a checklist, like an AI readiness scoring checklist as well. That's going to be really useful as well. So be sure to keep your eyes peeled for that. Right, I'm just going to minimize my video and then we can get started. There we go. Okay. So, right, Christmas in July, June, right? I mean, now the thing is, ultimately, I don't want to, teach everyone to suck eggs here. I'm sure we're all aware of the fact that, it is summer, but ultimately this is the planning season, this is the prep season, right? Whatever happens in Christmas obviously has a lead time, and that lead time normally starts around about June, July, in some cases even earlier from that, okay? And while your customers are thinking about their summer holidays, I know I'm thinking about my summer holidays, really what we need to be thinking about is this that you can see on your screen, right? Christmas is rolling around the corner, and as we know, Q4 is the biggest quarter by far of the year for retailers and hospitality services as well, right? We were going to do something a little bit more Christmassy. We were going to don our Christmas hats, but to be perfectly frank, I didn't want to go into the garage and rifle through all the Christmas decorations in June. So let's just keep it festive with the content, shall we? So why start planning now? Well, as we know, with Q4 being such a massive quarter for these particular sectors, we want to start thinking about ways that we can mitigate some of the common challenges that we see. Now, the benefit of having common challenges that happen every single year is you can predict them, right? You know what's coming around the corner. For many retailers, restaurant chains, restaurants, hospitality, whether that is pubs or hotels, you kind of know where your roadblockers are going to be. So we just rattle through some of these quickly now for context as we move forward. So the key one, obviously, is going to be massive spikes of volume of inbound inquiries, right? We're going to have a lot more inquiries inbound coming in across multiple channels where customers are going to want to be asking questions about products or services at a higher rate than they would normally, okay? The other key challenge, of course, is seasonal staff. Now, we do see a big uptick in, temp staff, whether that is for retailers, whether that is hotel staff or waiters, waitresses, etc. We have expanded opening hours. Maybe we're offering unusual or different types of services or experience that we need to cater for as well. And with that, with that increase in staffing comes additional training, right? So we've got, a lot of additional staff, more than we're used to, but at the same time, those members of staff perhaps are inexperienced. Maybe they're a bit more junior. Maybe this is something that they're not particularly familiar with the brand or the tone of voice, and we don't necessarily have all the time in the world to be able to ramp them up and train them to the proficiency level that we would necessarily want or expect from maybe some longer standing employees, right? So we have that as well. Of course, we have, in combination with increase in volume of inquiries and additional staff, we also have changes to products, policies, terms. Maybe you're launching a new range of products, especially for this time of year, for Black Friday. Maybe you're updating your policies. changes to opening hours. Perhaps if you're a hotel chain and you're offering a winter escape spa package that, you need to be able to have, to market and to have, questions asked answered about. Um, so there's a lot of changes that happened during this year, and to put the cherry on top of the cake, or should I say the holly on top of the Christmas pudding, customer expectations also increase. If you think about, what we're doing at Christmas time, a lot of the time we're all running around like headless chickens, aren't we? If you think about just you in your personal life, you've got to think about your work schedule's got to be all ramped up or wound down ahead of Christmas, so you're stressed about that. You've got your kids' nativity play, so you've got to factor that in. You've got to buy your presents for your husband or your sister or your mother-in-law or whatever. It's a stressful time for everybody, okay? So customer expectations and demand also increases. People are going to be doing their due diligence, right? Teams become stretched, and peak season is usually the time where we see some of the cracks if the groundwork hasn't been laid appropriately. So, where teams are actually feeling this pressure can be split into two different groups fundamentally. Okay. So, we have the customer challenges, and of course, we have the operational challenges. If we just look, first of all, at the customer challenges that we see as a result of some of those challenges that we're aware of, that on the slide previously, what is the ultimate impact of some of those things converging at once? Well, the first is the result is longer than normal wait times. We do still see this a lot in contact centers around, in the lead up to Christmas, with all of these different factors at play. Wait times can be longer, and that can actually aggravate or disrupt the normal sort of customer journey or customer flow, right? People can get slightly annoyed by that. And again, we don't really want that leaving a bad mark on our brand, okay? The other thing is repetitive inquiries, right? So we do have this spike in volume that we've discussed, and a lot of that is going to be coming from the same sorts of questions or the same sorts of tasks that are being asked or required time and time and again. Ultimately, those two things lead to poor channel experiences. And not only do those two things result in the poor channel experiences, but also we can see bad experiences by ill thought out new channels that have kind of been hastily kind of shoved into the customer journey as a way of trying to mitigate some of these problems, right? So what we can sometimes see is a knee-jerk response from businesses or organizations to think, okay, maybe we need to open up a new contact channel. Maybe we're going to open up, a new phone line, or maybe we're going to open up a new social media channel, etc. But if it's not been properly thought through, that can lead to an inconsistency for customers, and it becomes a bit of a lottery as to kind of what contact channel that they choose to go through to actually get the answers that they're looking for. And that can lead to inconsistency of answers, and again, it's a lottery service that we don't necessarily want to be having at the most important time of the year, right? The other side is operational challenges. So, like I say, so we've got, sometimes there are staffing shortages. And by staffing shortages, what we're talking about here isn't necessarily that influx of the temp staff that we might see, or the, additional, 20 people in our contact center. Sometimes these longer wait times, it literally means there's not enough people around to be able to actually answer the questions that are required, right? Which leads to inefficiencies internally. We also can see knowledge gaps, and this is one of the biggest problems that we're going to be talking about quite a lot here, and ways that we can actually mitigate some of this. Knowledge, like I say, changes to kind of policies or products or services that are being offered at this time. Not everyone is going to be able to recall all the details about everything. So knowledge gaps, again, this is a problem. This ultimately results in a decrease of productivity for agents. not necessarily having the answers on hand. Maybe they need to come out of the environment that they're in, look up the answer to a question somewhere separately. Maybe, even going onto the own, the actual website, because a customer, yeah, might want to go onto the website, but as we know, a lot of them don't. So that can have issues with productivity. And finally, as well, a lack of visibility. So this is really referring to being able to understand how the agents are working. Can we see what customers are asking? Can we spot any trends? Can we see if there's anything that we can kind of mitigate? Is there something that we can kind of understand on the fly and solve in the moment? Maybe there's a conversation that's happening with a customer and it's going south very quickly. How can we be aware of this? If we don't have suitable solutions in place, all of these things can compound. Now, these are all common challenges that are experienced across the board, and many businesses will try to solve these problems at the same time. Which can, sometimes work, but a lot of the time can end up being a bit of a spaghetti on the wall approach and not really lead to the changes that we most want to be seeing. So how can AI help? Right, so there are two main types of sort of customer experience transformation that can be delivered from AI. Now, we're talking to, retail and hospitality, so I thought it was only reasonable to term these as front of house and back of house AI. Okay, so broadly speaking, that's a good way of understanding the differences. And a lot of the time, we are focusing primarily on the front of house, right? So customer facing AI solutions tend to be the deployments or the solutions that businesses will kind of jump on first and foremost. Okay, so these are things where you're literally putting on a chat AI, a conversational AI widget onto your website, for example. In other cases, it could be a voice AI, which essentially works in a very similar way as conversational chat AI, but over the phone. WhatsApp, SMS. So really, it's about adding AI to the sort of contact channels which are customer facing. Very important, but by no means is it the only sort of AI transformation that can really deliver bang for buck and significant results for for businesses. And I want to talk a little bit about the back of house stuff. Okay. So if we think about, the example of a restaurant, okay, often when we as sort of patrons of a restaurant, we will walk in and immediately we're hit by the ambiance of the place, right? The menu looks great. The service might be very good from our, from the serving staff. There might be nice music playing and the menu looks fantastic. But ultimately, if the chefs in the kitchen don't have enough stock, if they don't have enough, if they're, the chefs are not working to, collectively, the experience is going to be quite bad, right? Regardless of how pretty it might look from the front. And I'm sure we've all experienced this at some point, okay? So getting the back of house AI in place is absolutely crucial to delivering the best outcomes. Okay, so what does this mean? This means agent facing. What can we be offering to actually support your agents? Okay, this is looking at things like agent assist tools, co-piloting tools. This is going to mitigate some of the issues that we've spoken about in terms of actually having access to the knowledge that might be lacking. Okay, having access to all the information and all the policy changes and having AI on hand for our agents so that they can automate the lookup of some of those questions so they don't have to waste time doing it. There's also translation is a massive thing, okay? So having translating tools, this is particularly true, useful for example, for hotels, okay? Where we know this is a big problem and a big barrier, okay? Things like summaries, conversational summaries. This could be insights reports into the types of conversations that are being had, which allows supervisors to very, very quickly understand, trends in conversations and patterns that are emerging, both positive and negative. Okay. And the best sort of CX transformation is going to come from not neglecting one or the other. Really, it is about joining both of these two together, right? As it would be in any kind of real life bricks and mortar experience that they might have, right? So we're gonna delve into those in a little bit more depth. I am going to hand over now to Steve, who's going to talk about this in, yeah, a bit more depth.
Thank you, Patsy. And in all your excitement, obviously, to get to Christmas as fast as possible, just to point out to everybody that there is Q&A available in the in this conference session, and please put any questions you have as you go in there. Okay, so let's dig in a little bit deeper into what Patsy's talking about as we talk about front of house and back of house. So obviously front of house, as we know, as we've already identified, is all about helping customers to be able to using the AI to help customers achieve their tasks, achieve what they need to do. And the good thing about AI is obviously applying these things 24/7, 365. Now, anytime though we're helping customers front of house, I can guarantee you we're absolutely helping the agents at the back of house as well, because a lot of this is about trying to minimize the amount of traffic, minimize the amount of repetitive conversations, and ultimately ease the workload within the contact center, which we'll talk about in a minute. So some of the use cases that we're probably going to see, and this is obviously a bit of a mix of retail only or retail and hospitality. So apologies, hang on there, hospitality people. So first of all, Wizmo, or where is my order tracking? This is a tale as old a time in our world where we've had chatbots delivering this kind of service since we were all born. And this is obviously a very key metric that a contact center wants to deal with. It can be apparently as high as 25% of queries on a typical period, on a normal time could be order tracking related. And obviously for retailers on the Black Friday and the Christmas periods, these become essential because obviously the Patsies of this world are probably ordering all their presents right now, whereas the Steves of this world will be ordering their packages 3 days before Christmas and then in a total panic about when it's coming. So being able to find that information, being able to use AI, obviously order tracking wasn't necessarily a complicated flow, but using AI to handle this can be far more conversational, far easier for the customer to handle, are much more able to deal with the variations in that conversation flow so high. Retailers are then also worried about returns. Again, typically returns can be as much of orders, 20% of orders might end up being returned. And this is only going higher as we do more and more e-commerce as we go. And obviously, clothing is one of the worst offenders here. I know the wife loves to buy 3 different versions of everything that she's buying online because one of them will fit and the other two won't. So returns can now account for up to 40% in clothing. So again, having an AI that can be giving clear returns information, helping us log and identify appropriate returns and info, helping the customer understand what that process might look like, what times might be involved, being able to track those returns and so on and so forth. Again, a huge advantage. The rest of this probably relates a little bit to both. So one of the big things is obviously product questions, FAQs, and being able to do that 24/7, obviously. So, pretty much product questions is going to account for a huge volume of queries within a contact center. And we have our use cases that you might have heard from before, but if you haven't, please investigate both Bugaboo and HealthSpan that are focused very heavily on product questions and FAQs to help reduce some of the impact of call volumes and chat volumes on their contact center. And I've seen huge improvements. Typically, a contact center, over half of the queries a contact center receives are going to be the same handful of questions again and again and again. So being able to automate those, being able to give the customers the information they need when they need it, particularly again across the channel they might need it, can be a huge advantage for them. And If we look at both, FAQs and product questions, a small to medium business who's potentially struggling a little bit more with, opening hours questions and 24/7 style queries, is going to struggle to handle those queries during busy periods because they are constricted far more. So again, voice AI can support all customers, a small, medium business. There are some statistics that say a small, medium business that isn't able to answer the phone, 85% of those callers won't return back to that small business. So again, we're thinking about how we can improve that service to users. A small business might not like the idea of a voice AI solution being able to answer their queries and customers, but if it's the difference between losing 85% of your missed callers, it's probably going to be a much better solution. And booking requests, are huge. And if we look at a restaurant, again, apparently we're told that 43% of incoming calls to restaurants are missed. And I know I've experienced that many times. I'm sure other people have. It's rare these days to actually call up a restaurant, get hold of somebody and have a conversation. Yeah. So being able to deal with bookings requests, being able to automate those processes, people don't necessarily care about that experience as long as they can either book or they can cancel or they can update their reservation at any time. And again, these are would have been difficult flows to do in the legacy days of IVRs, or sitting there in that queue, trying to get hold of an agent. Whereas instead, a voice AI agent can very efficiently and quickly deal with those queries for us. So as many use cases we can look at here. And again, the good thing about utilizing AI to deliver these is you could be met as a customer, can be met on their channel of choice, particularly with Talkative, where we're not necessarily focused on voice AI and we're not necessarily focused on digital AI. We're about delivering that consistent experience for the callers across all of those different channels. So your organization only has to worry about figuring out these scenarios, figuring out, how we're going to deploy these, and then having the ability to just flick these on and off across the channels that are most appropriate for you as an organization. And as we can identify, a lot of these can be automated. These don't need humans, these don't need agents. But the good thing with Talkative, again, you've always got that escalation route within our platform. We can take voice calls and deal with those exception scenarios and deliver them the right way. We can take chat interactions, and if customers, being frustrated or not getting anywhere, we can escalate that. So ultimately, it's about creating a self-service environment for a customer, but we're not necessarily getting rid of our stuff. And that nicely takes us on to our next slide, which is where we begin thinking about the back of the house. So as Patsy's already described, it's very important that the back of the house is involved in any AI conversations as well. So the reason we were looking at AI to support staff is that staff during these periods, during the festive seasons, are under extreme stress because of high call volumes, low availability, low knowledge within the organization. We know contact center environments are extremely high turnover. So being able to keep staff, support staff with AI through those conversations can be vital to support them. 87% of contact center employees apparently experience high levels of stress during holiday festive periods, which is a massive amount. So we need to be able to support those staff, and we need to be able to give them the tools and capabilities that they need. So the tools that Talkative provide is AI co-pilots and knowledge recommendations. This is the core AI feature that most people will be thinking about when they think of AI support for an agent. This is giving them your knowledge, your brand's information, so that they can be most effective as possible with the right info to hand to be able to reply and respond to those queries as quick as possible. This is not just going to help them out in answering questions. This is going to reduce the call time and the duration it takes to deal with a query. And it's going to give the agent more confidence in those conversations to try and handle that conversation with time and with care, but with the efficient information available in their hand. Patsy's mentioned translation. There's nothing more frustrating than being unable to communicate with a customer in some way. So having our real-time translation available as part of our chat functions gives the agent an ability to be able to converse effectively with a customer in any language. And as we've identified, hospitality obviously being a massive driver here, where, in the UK, we have a large tourism into the UK, and people from all over the world, and it sends it raises the quality for the customer, it raises their impression of you as a brand, and it improves life for the agent in not having to struggle and deal with those conversations. While it's less of a focus around AI, obviously, Talkative does provide that video and screen share capability for retail as well. This is a huge function where we can make that conversation far easier for the agent if they can share a screen of a shopping cart or assist a customer with a product guide or making choices, making selections, or even escalating up into video to take maybe a chat interaction and turn it into something more real time, more personal. And we look across our retailers, it's one of the largest areas that we see video usage within the Talkative platform. But a little known, challenge for a lot of agents is that summarization period. When we get to the end of a call, have we collected the information we've needed? Have we updated our systems effectively to update? So Talkative provides automatic summaries as part of an interaction. It's already identifying what happened. It's storing that in the correct locations. We can share that with the customers, with their CRMs and tools as we need to. But it saves the agent having to try and provide their own notes or their own guidance on exactly what took place. And this is all automated. Similarly, we have wrap-up automation. Wrap-up automation here is about categorizing calls because it's important for an agent to be able to identify exactly what took place. The organization is going to want to know what the result of this conversation was. So Talkative's AI does the wrap-up automation for the agent. They can still clarify it, they can still edit it before it's completed. But that first pass of applying a load of tags or a load of metrics to an interaction is all done by the AI. So there's been a couple of reports that sort of describe how these things work. Obviously, within the contact center, these conversations come up massively. So how can things like wrap up help? Nice. One of the Gartner leading contact center as a service platforms looked at how AI assistance has helped their customers. And AI assistance in the wrap up phase has actually reduced the handle times by 20%. This able to, ensure that the agent is dealing with conversations far quicker. It's doing it in a more efficient way. It helps reduce that churn. But also having AI knowledge and having AI co-pilots and summaries and wrap-up automation done ensures that your new staff are onboarded far quicker. Their time to actually add value as a new member of staff is reduced because there's not as much complexity to being able to, access knowledge or answer questions or figure out how to effectively wrap up an interaction or clear a call down. So it's very, very easy to measure ROI here. If we look at wrap up and we're looking at how we can justify these types of technologies, we see some stats that say in retail and hospitality, calls, let's take a high example of like 5 minutes and we make that much smaller. If we say it's a 2 minute wrap up for any particular wrap up and an agent's dealing with 30 calls a day, that's going to be an hour saved if we can automate that process as much as possible each day for each agent. There's an incredible ROI there. And what we don't do necessarily here as well is talk effectively about how AI can be used to help supervisors as well. Because while there's a front of house and a back of house to help both the customers and the agents, Talkative's AI is there providing analytics, providing real-time alerting capabilities, so an organization can far more efficiently manage their customer contact and improve it and understand it over time. Bounces on, Patsy. So very quickly, for anybody that maybe doesn't know the Talkative platform, as well as people that have been with us a while, it is a single platform. What we're trying to build is a single AI platform that can live across your contact center and across your different channels that your customers might want to contact you to provide as much value as possible, as quickly as possible. That's front of house AI, that's back of house AI, and that's AI to support the supervisors with all the analytics and the reporting and the metrics and the information that they need to do. What we're trying to build with Talkative, and hopefully if you haven't seen the tool, we can give you some demonstrations at some point in the future, but we're trying to make our platform easy for a normal contact center user to manage, or a normal user within the business. These are incredibly technical tools, and some platforms don't make this stuff so easy to manage for the business. We want this to be something that a normal user can use, because that then makes it easy to iterate, easy to grow, easy to change over time, and gives everybody confidence in the tool. If you can very easily, as an organization, make the changes and the tweaks you need to be more effective. And Talkative's building out integration capabilities. We're building out tools within our platform to make it easier and easier for you to integrate these services into the relevant platforms, whether it be making this work on your website and integrating it there, whether it be making it work with your telephony platform so that it works seamlessly there, or more likely look at how we can integrate into your business systems, your bookings, your order tracking, your CRM, whatever it might be. Talkative is building out those tools to make that as efficient for you guys. And Talkative is a constantly evolving platform. What we're saying today, we probably would have said very differently a year ago as the feature set changes, as things move on. So Talkative will continue to evolve with you as an organization to help give you a huge difference. We can embrace new technologies very quickly. We add and iterate on our solution based on customer feedback extremely fast. The last one for me is just thinking about then, right? So we've spoke a lot about front of house, we've spoke a lot about back of house, and let's think about now, well, what are we doing? Why are we starting here in middle of June? And what's the process that potentially we need to go on here? So it's important to, when you start thinking about these technologies and where you go, one of the things we want to say to you is think about friction, don't think about features. It's always important to take a look at that customer journey. We need to map that customer's journey out and try and identify where problems happen in that chain, whether it be front of house things like tracking a package. Customers are struggling to get information. Customers can't update their bookings without a painful journey, or whether it be supporting the agents because the agents are under stress. They're under huge workload. We can't efficiently offer a high level of customer satisfaction because we are overloaded. Let's look at that journey. Let's identify where those problems are happening the most. And they've got time to do that. Right now in June, we could be thinking about that. But as Patsy said right at the beginning, you probably already know some of this. This is a regular repeating challenge that a business is going to have. And AI is here now to support you. If you haven't already begun these tasks, let's begin thinking about these right now. Knowledge is absolutely king. One of the biggest things about utilizing AI is beginning early with the knowledge, being able to provide, effective answers to the AI, to provide all of your FAQs, all of your documentation, all of the key things that an AI might need to be to support your brand, to support your customers, or your agents in a conversation with up-to-date information. Knowledge is the foundation to absolutely everything that goes on. And it's early enough right now to begin thinking about that knowledge. And we provide resources on our website to help you go through this starting process. Our support team have put together, our customer success team put together some great resources to help you begin from the very first step into AI to help identify this stuff, understand what prompting means, understand what knowledge means, and build up as we go is very important. Something we want to see you do, though, is think about these things quickly. Don't wait for a perfect AI solution. If you try and build, a full end-to-end, completely, capable AI solution end to end, you won't be able to maximize value as quick as possible. The key thing about AI is every single business that's ever deployed this with us as a customer has been able to improve the AI over time because we have real data, we have real conversations, we have a real understanding of how customers use it, and we have a real understanding of how AI is being used by our agents and by our staff in that. So depending on the use case, obviously we don't want to deploy some terrible package tracking voice AI solution, right? But if we are giving product knowledge, if we are giving information, let's get it out there. Let's get people using it. Let's understand it as quick as possible and let's scale it appropriately. It's also important, though, at this early stage to begin thinking about what your success would look like. If you are going to begin piloting or utilizing AI solutions, it's not just a case of like, hey, let's see if AI can make a difference. Let's measure early exactly what it is we want to achieve. Whether it be we're containing customers with front of house, we're stopping them getting through, whether it be looking at customer satisfaction, are we looking to improve things for our customers? Are we don't want to eliminate that 83% of people that aren't going to bother coming back to us if they don't get some answer. Let's deal with those. Is it handle time? Are we looking at wrap ups? Are we looking at, arming customers with better knowledge in a call? So we can move up. So starting small is a great way to go. Thinking about success is important because this will help justify future expansion as well. If we understand what we're trying to achieve with an AI, it helps us then say to the business in the future, hey, we deployed this use case. Here's the success we've seen. Here's how we can apply that to other areas of the platform. Something else to consider when we're thinking about AI, while we've got front of house, back of house, a lot of people are more inclined to think about back of house as a starting point because using the agent tools to deliver knowledge or wrap ups and capabilities lets you start in a very, very less risky position of just being able to utilize these technologies internally. And this will also help you improve your knowledge over time. It will help you understand how AI prompting and the AI services work. And if you are helping your staff, if they are begin seeing the value in utilizing AI internally, very quickly they become advocates of the technology instead of detractors. Now, I don't think there's a contact center user in the market that would embrace the idea of, a business scaling up AI within the organization because we'd all have those concerns about our jobs and our futures. Whereas if AI is supporting them and they can recognize the benefit and understand those improvements, then we'll see things move on. So it's important now to begin thinking about this. And right now is the time to go on this. Think about your knowledge bases, think about your use cases, map your customer journeys, look at where we can improve things. Because if we get something live in the next few months, if it comes in September, we can iterate on it, improve it. And then when the festive seasons hit, we're in a perfect position to go. Back over to you, Patsy.
Thank you, Steve. Okay, so yeah, so how are we sort of measuring that success? Okay, so Steve's made some really good points there. Okay, so we all, the best time to start, to get into the best possible position for success is right now. Okay, but then when we look at the actual success and how we're going to be looking at measuring that, there is a few different ways that we can do that. Okay, of course, everybody's talking and is excited about AI at the moment, but really what we want to do is pinpoint and pin down what are going to be the most important metrics that we really care about the most. And that will ultimately inform what areas of the solution or what areas of the customer journey that we start to look at automating first of all. Okay. So the first, of course, is the overall customer experience. Really, really enormous. I mean, for every industry, really, but especially for retail and hospitality, it is a service-based sector. Okay, so, looking at things like improving CSAT scores, looking at resolution rates, looking at the overall customer effort that is required. Maybe you're a retailer and really what you want to be measuring is the automation and the self-serve of things like product queries, delivery tracking, that sort of thing. Okay. Maybe it's operational. Maybe it's an operational led thing. Maybe you really want to be looking at some of those efficiencies in-house. Okay, so again, we can be looking at things like containment rate. We can start looking at things like cost to serve metrics, average handling time, which will definitely be going down with automation. So that would be a very good one to look at, and also things like overall agent productivity. And it's not listed here, but also agent satisfaction as well. How happy are your agents? We've mentioned a couple of times already. We know that this is a stressful time of year for everybody, but not least for agents. They have a huge volume and a lot of work on their shoulders. Anything that we can be doing to improve their productivity and to minimize some of that burden is going to be ultimately a really good thing for your teams. Finally, is the actual business impact. AI, of course, comes with, cost reductions. That's why everyone is talking about it so much, right? The efficiency gains can lead to incredible cost savings, which I'm sure your finance departments will all be jumping for joy for. The efficiency gain side of things and the revenue opportunities are not something that we speak about enough, but we've got some absolutely incredible use cases and results from live customers that we can talk about today that just illustrate this further. So if we look at Bugaboo, who is a premium sort of baby brand, who've used our chat AI for product related queries on their website, they didn't even intend on creating, on having this result. This wasn't even one of their key goals, but it just sort of ended up happening as a result of introducing the chat AI. They noticed an increase of average order value of 35% of any of those interactions with the AI. So if a customer engaged with the AI, average order value increased by 35% as a result, okay, because that service is really helpful. Similarly, we're looking at HealthSpan. HealthSpan are the UK's leading provider of healthcare supplements, vitamins, minerals, etc. They introduced Talkative's chat AI in what they've branded as their product professor on their website. And the professor essentially answers the million and one different questions that a customer might have about their products. They have a huge product catalog. I think it's about 200, maybe more than that now, of different kind of vitamins, supplements, etc. Impossible for an agent to be able to have all those answers, right? But they've now managed to get almost all of product queries handled exclusively through the AI. And now they've rolled that out even further into voice AI, which would be doing exactly the same thing, serving exactly the same sorts of queries, but just across a different channel over the phone. So there's lots of ways that you can measure that success, but these are just a few for you to think about. And that's one of the key things that we really want to be focusing when we look at, wrapping up now, okay? Really, we want to be preparing early. And we've spoken a lot today about a lot of different ways that you can deploy it and for lots of different reasons, okay? But ultimately, the people that are going to win are the people that prepare early and most importantly, start small. Pick the one or two things that really matter to your customer journey, right? And focus on it. So, for example, maybe if you're a hotel, okay, one of your key problems and barriers is language, real-time language translation, okay? At any one moment in time, you could have, 75, 80 different languages that are being spoken in your hotel that you need to serve. It's impossible to staff appropriately for all of those different languages. And it changes every single day. So maybe that's the thing that you focus on, in which case, the language capabilities of a voice AI solution is going to be instrumental to your success and your efficiency over the festive season because it can live translate those calls and make everybody very happy. So yeah, preparing early and starting small and iterating. As Steve said, we've got the time now. If we get something live by September, you've got a good couple of months of runway to really test it, iterate it, improve it. So you're in a really good place to move forward into the Christmas season. Again, we don't want to be neglecting either end, either transformation, whether that is customer facing or agent facing AI. The best solutions do combine both, but we want to be being clever and tactical about which things we prioritize first and foremost. We want to be measuring success in a way that is meaningful to our specific use cases and our specific businesses. And from that point, that's when we start to scale, right? So we're not going to be throwing spaghetti at the wall. We're not going to be applying, shoving AI in every single nook and cranny that we can. It's about understanding where we can serve our customers better or our agents better, measuring that success and iterating over time. Okay, right. We have got a couple of minutes now just to answer a couple of your questions. And I do believe we've had a couple through. So let me open some of these up.
I got it, Patsy. I got it. So, yeah, we've got three questions that somebody's asked. We'll probably share these afterwards, guys. So, you've got access to these because I don't think we're going to have time to finish. But one of the key ones is how long is it going to take a typical AI solution to get up and running, like we've been discussing here? So, yeah, we there's obviously is how long is a piece of string, but if we look on average, I think 4 to 6 weeks is probably a good amount of time to begin thinking about this. So it does give you plenty of time to begin going down the process. We have an onboarding process, as I said, which we're happy to share. You'll find it on our support site that helps you understand how to get going with AI, with Talkative. From the moment we're all ready to rock, it's kind of a 4 to 6 week process to take your knowledge to create, the relevant chatbots, voice bots, and start getting things running. But getting knowledge is the most important thing. Get on with that now. Get working with that as we go. We've got a couple of others here, but we'll include the answers to those in the thing because we're at time. So yeah, thanks everybody for joining us.